This tool might be my favorite little tool I've used in the garage so far. It's this little floor scraper thing, and it works like a dream. Welcome back to my garage makeover, where I am doing this epoxy flaked garage floor extremely accurately, according to the internet. So I waited for the epoxy to dry a whole 24 hours before I scraped all these extra chips off the floor, because a lot of people suggested that I try to use the extra chips to see if I can epoxy the rest of what I wasn't able to finish the other day. So I scraped the floor off, I swept it, I blew it all into this little pile, and then I decided to move it off of the bare concrete that I needed to cover. And then I am rolling on the epoxy and using those leftover flakes that I had. And you can see that they went pretty far, but not far enough, which is a total bummer. I was not able to get it all done with the leftover flakes, so I did have to wait for my new box to be delivered, and then I went ahead and finished it out, but I didn't film it. But here you can see me scraping all the excess flakes off of that. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little bit tedious to do this, but I do love how it ended up turning out, with one exception. The box of flakes that I had to order to finish this floor turned out to be a slightly different color than the original flakes, which I honestly can live with, because this only cost me a couple $1,000s as opposed to $18,000 had I hired it out. The last step in this garage floor process is putting a nice top coat on it, and so I blew this garage out, and then yes, I used my house vacuum to vacuum up anything that was left over so that I had a nice, clean, dust-free slate. We are going to seal this all in with a nice epoxy top coat. So I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shield Clear top coat, and you mix it the same way that I had to mix the epoxy, like the gray epoxy that you put the flakes on. You just mix the bag up, pour it out, and then you just roll on a nice clean layer. And then you just do that for time and all eternity, basically, until you have the whole garage floor covered. I did switch back and forth between a paintbrush and a roller so that I could make sure I could get epoxy in between all the slabs of concrete, and then I just repeated that process, and I just repeated that process, and I am just wearing flesh-colored socks here, in case you're wondering. Definitely not barefoot. And this is how it turned out. It's nice and shiny. It looks beautiful. I actually really love it. I love the high gloss. I forgot to mention though that epoxy top coat does have a little additive you can add in there to make it not so slippery when wet. So I would definitely recommend doing that. But I love the sheen of this floor. I love how glossy it is. And I am so excited that this is what my garage floor looks like right now. And you're supposed to let this cure for a couple of days before you drive on it or do anything. So I'm just going to let it sit for a little while. But the next step in this garage makeover is doing something about all these little walkthroughs in my garage. I don't want them, so we're probably gonna drywall them in.